Well, that's it. We need a therapy session.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes, Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, so check us out there if you have not already. And please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show so you get these episodes right away when they come out Monday through Friday. And coming up on today's show, the Giants need a therapy session. The Giants fans need a therapy session. I need a therapy session. We're going to do that a little bit. We're going to look at some of the positives from this loss in the finale because there really were some, and the team is showing signs of fight. The results just have been very frustrating lately. And we're going to talk about how the team and the fans get a mental reset day tomorrow and look at some of the big picture stuff. So a lot to get into as the Giants get swept by the Detroit Tigers, who improved to 37-20. They're just having a great season, best record in baseball. Giants fall to 31-25, but the big story in this game is that the Giants got out to a 3-0 lead and Landon Roupp was just cruising, and then things fell apart in a 4-run bottom of the fifth. That was all the runs the Tigers would get in the game coming in that inning, and the Giants were one strike away from getting through it despite major trouble that Randy Rodriguez inherited. And he struck out 2 to get to within 1 strike of getting out of it, and then he gives up a 2-run single that gives the Tigers a lead that they would not relinquish. And so just super frustrating all the way around, but there were some real positives to take away from this. And I think if we step back and look at the big picture, there's also, I'm not going to paint this thing rosy red. I'm just saying, like, if we just take a step back, there are positives, big picture and in a game like this. And so what I saw was a team that showed fight and a team that cares and a team that did everything they could. You know, right now they're just really struggling with the bats. Once again, 3 runs only. So their runs scored in their last 11 games, I think, or no, 11 games. Goes 1-3, 1-3, 4-4, 0-3, 1-1-3. And so that's basically averaging about just over 2 runs a game for 11 games. And somehow they're 5-6. And so that's, I guess, a positive in and of itself. Like, you could really be in a bad spot if you're going 11 games averaging just over 2 runs a game. You could lose them all. But they've managed to just barely, they almost easily could have won today, and it could have been 6-5 with averaging just over 2 runs a game, because the pitching has, they've gone 0-2, 3-2, 8, 0-3, 2, 3, 3, 4. So they have only allowed more than 3 runs twice in their last 11 games. One of those times being today, and it was just 4. And the other time 8. So that's like the outlier of the group. So anyway, I don't know. I personally, it's really tough. Like, a baseball season is typically going to have stretches like this, but big picture, there is obviously concern about the hitting. There's certain players the last this week discussed at length Lamont Wade Jr. and Patrick Bailey and the struggles of Willy Adames overall on the season and how frustrating those are. I think like looking at the bench, that's a definite area of concern to me because, you know, a guy like Christian Koss, he plays in the game today and ends up, I don't believe, doing anything offensively, and the whole team is doing nothing offensively. Yeah, Koss goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and he came up in a huge situation too with second and third, 1 out. Giants had second and third, no outs, and it was Patrick Bailey and Christian Koss in the less than 2 out situation. Christian Koss tried to get a bunt down, safety squeeze twice, and he fouled the ball off both times. And then when you do that, it's dangerous because all of a sudden you're down 2 strikes, and then he just wildly chases a pitch in the dirt and strikes out. And this is after Patrick Bailey pinch hit for Sam Huff and hit a shallow fly out that was unable to score Adames. So it looked like, I think this was in the top of the 8th. It looked like the Giants were going to get things going. No, this was the top of the 7th. Was it? No, I don't have it. It's showing me the key moments, not the all. Was this? It doesn't really ultimately matter. It was the top of the 8th. And yeah, so Willy Adames reached on catcher's interference. Lamont Wade Jr. singled on a bloop to left, and it was just really good base running by Adames to get to third. On a single to left, it was just hit softly, but he read it well and was super aggressive getting to third. And Lamont Wade Jr. very heads up and aggressively getting to second. So it's second and third, nobody out, down a run, 8th inning. And you're thinking, I mean, you don't need to get a hit or even a walk. You can just make outs and take the lead in that situation, but the Giants couldn't even tie. So that's where the frustration comes in, and that's where all season, not all season, but when they were having success, they were consistently coming through in high leverage situations. And I got asked a lot in like mailbag questions, can they keep that up? And I said, well, I would tend to expect that actually overall they will revert to their kind of normal level of offensive production in every situation. It just so happens they did their best work in high leverage situations, and it doesn't tend to be something that is sustainable. And so you look at, okay, there was a lot of credit given to Buster Posey and philosophy for like productive outs and this and that. Well, right today, it definitely did not show up. Like the way they got their runs, you know, Heliot Ramos, we'll get to him as a bright spot in this loss, hit a big 2-run homer. Matt Chapman had a good day at the plate and unfortunately made an error to lead off that fateful bottom of the 5th, which, yeah, it started the inning, and it was the 9th place hitter. And it was a tough play. He had to charge it, but that started the whole thing. Like, the whole day could have been different if Matt Chapman makes that play. Look, am I going to sit here and complain about Matt Chapman defensively? No, of course not. But it just goes to show, you know, just one little thing can make all the difference. And one pitch, like Randy Rodriguez was one pitch away from getting out of that situation, and a 2-out, 2-strike, 2-run single that gave the Tigers the lead. And, you know, after Patrick Bailey and Christian Koss couldn't get the job done, it was like the same situation, second and third, no outs. Tigers got, you know, they struck out twice, and then they got a 2-out, 2-strike, 2-run hit, whereas the Giants, second and third, no outs, shallow fly out, strikeout, and then Yastrzemski came up and he grounded out to first. And so that was the difference in the game. The Tigers got that hit and the Giants did not, and they just consistently have not gotten big hits in these last 11 games. Like, they won that game against the A's 9-1, and ever since then they've just struggled big time offensively. And so we're just here to talk through it, to take a deep breath and say, you know what, there's 2/3 of the season left, and big picture, there's still, I think we would have taken their position that they're in now. So we will look at some specific positives and then zoom out and look at the big picture in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Having all of my accounts in one place instead of spread all over the place is just an absolute game changer, and I cannot recommend it highly enough with Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, here we go. We are going to get into the positives from this game because there really were several, and it was looking like a game that the Giants were going to win for a while. Ultimately, not enough offense again, and then just one bad inning of pitching and defense, and it cost them. And that's just how it goes right now. That's just how it goes sometimes during a baseball season. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Okay, so getting into some of the positives, like I'm not just like grasping at straws here. There really were legitimate positives to take away from this game, and really from the last few in a way. Like there are certain things we can look at, like Logan Webb struck out a bunch of guys in his start. I think it was 10. Did he strike out 10? Let me just verify that. Yet he gave up 3 runs. But yeah, he struck out 10. So that was great to see. He just gave up too many hits, essentially. And the team couldn't score behind him. 3-1 final. He gave up 3 runs early, but then ended up going 6 and allowing 3 runs, which is not bad. But today, Landon Roupp was a real bright spot, and he has been his last several times out. And so all of a sudden you look up and Landon Roupp, even with those runs coming in, well, I should point out actually that a bunch of the runs were unearned. So he ends up giving up 4 runs, but only 1 earned run because, you know, if Randy Rodriguez's second strikeout, or like if Matt Chapman had not made an error, the way they do this, then that would have been the first out, and then Randy Rodriguez's second strikeout would have ended the inning. So those 2 runs that scored after don't count. And then there was another unearned run. I'm not entirely sure where that unearned run comes into play, but regardless, it's not all about ERA, but his season numbers, all of a sudden, he's made 11 starts, 56 innings. All of his outings have been starts, and he has a 3.54 ERA and a 3.59 fielding independent pitching. He struck out a batter per inning. It's better to do strikeout percentage, though. So he struck out 56, and he's faced 248 batters. So that's a 22.6% strikeout rate, which is just about league average. And he's walked 20 in, again, 248 batters faced. And that's a 8.1% walk rate. And so both of those numbers are about average-ish, but he's been better than average at preventing runs. I mean, just very solid for a, he's not technically a rookie because he pitched 50 in a third innings last year, but to move him to the starting rotation and to have these kinds of results, that is a very good sign. And you've got Logan Webb, you've got now Landon Roupp doing this, you've got your upside guys in like Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison. And so just a young, good starting staff starting to emerge here. And you've got Robbie Ray doing what he's doing, and he's under contract for next year as well. So Landon Roupp, I mean, just a real positive to take away from this game. He did like let that inning unravel a little bit, but he has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in a start dating back to April. So all of May is 2 earned runs, 0, 0, and 1. And he's gone in those starts 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. And then today he ends up going 4 innings because he didn't get an out in that 5th. But he was really cruising and striking out a bunch of guys, but things did unravel for him, and it started with that error. So I don't know. I really think things could have been different if that inning starts with an out. It may change the entire course of that game. And so another positive to take from this game was Heliot Ramos hitting a bomb of a home run. So anytime we see him like pull a ball like that for enormous power is just exciting to me. It's his 10th home run of the season. We are almost exactly at the 1/3 mark of the season. And so, we can calculate that out and say he has a shot at 30 home runs. The Giants have played 56 games. If we multiply that by 3, that would be 168. So I guess, I don't know, if they had 55 games would be also a little more than a third of the way. So, okay, we played a little more, like 2 games more than a third of the season, essentially. But he's got 10 homers. And when he hits, like I said, bombs to the pull side, it's exciting because they don't have a lot of guys like that, especially right-handed hitters, because they tend to be more of your everyday players. Lefties tend to be more of your platoon guys. But to have him backing up what he did last season, I know I've said this a lot if you've heard me on this show, but every time he does it, it's significant because it's just further and further establishing that last year was no fluke. And I think we're very much at that point. And what we've seen consistently is that he'll kind of cool off and start. Typically, when he cools off, what we start seeing is a little bit more chase. We even saw that in today's game. He was swinging wildly at some inside pitches recently. And then, however, we see him make a correction and just get hot again. And to see that on a consistent basis, it's easy to forget. Like, he seems like he could be almost 30, but he's just 25 years old. Giants drafted him in 2017 in the first round. So he's been in the organization for almost a decade, and yet he's just 25 years old. I think he was 17 when he was drafted. So with today's performance, 3 hits, did strike out twice, but 3 hits, including a homer. He is now on the season hitting .288, which is way better than league average, which is about .242 or .244. .349 on base, which is way better than average, and a .486 slugging, which is way better than average. And you add it all up, and by weighted runs created plus, that comes out to a 133, which means 33% above average offense. And last year he was 20% above average by weighted runs created plus. So he's as good as he was last year, made the All-Star team. He's performing even better overall this season, and he's played 54 games. What did I say the Giants have played? 56. So he's played 54 of the Giants' 56 games. He's out there pretty much every inning of every game, and he's he has an outside shot at 30 home runs. Probably not, but he could do it. I mean, he could definitely do it. And one of the, I don't want to say knocks on him, but one of the things that we were waiting to see was, could he hit for big pull side power? And so anytime he does, it's exciting. And I think he did it recently-ish also, and when he hits them, they go far, like to the pull side, because I think in the minor leagues, he tended to hit a lot of balls to the opposite field. It's kind of the same thing going on with Marco Luciano. A lot of opposite field contact and not getting to that pull side power. But especially for a Giants player, when they go home at Oracle Park, opposite field, I know he hit one into McCovey Cove as a right-handed hitter, but it's much easier to hit him out to left as a right-handed hitter, obviously. But anyway, he was a positive offensively. Landon Roupp was a real positive. And then Matt Chapman, I know he made that error, but unfortunate. He's overall very good defensively, though. Obviously, I don't think I need to even say that. But he ends up going 3 for 4 in this game with 2 doubles. So it's been a little bit of a struggle for him offensively recently. So to see him pick up 3 hits, including 2 doubles, was nice. I mean, he raised his... He's kind of underperformed the expected numbers this year. So to see it, I don't want to say even out. It was just one game. But to see him get some results was very nice. He's currently, even with today, got a 269 average on balls in play. His career average on balls in play is 293. Last year, it was 293. So that just goes to show most guys kind of reach their career numbers on average when it comes to things like this. And this year coming into today, it was just 254. So the kind of batted ball results haven't been maybe what he's deserved, especially when you look at the expected numbers being significantly lower than the actual results. So it's nice to see Chapman get some results offensively. Because look, the Giants need offense, and so to have breakthrough kind of games for Chapman and for Heliot Ramos, those are 2 huge keys to this operation. And so to see them get it going in this game, and you pitched well outside of this one inning, it's a little bit like they should have scored more, given when I look at the fact that they had 10 hits and they drew 4 walks. Like, that usually leads to more than 3 runs. Like, they just only got 3 runs. And look, credit to the Tigers. They're 37-20 for a reason. Their pitching is tough, but at the same time, you lost, and it's just the bottom line. So coming up in just a minute, we will look at the big picture. And to me, if we just like objectively look at their record, their position in the standings and all that, it's not so doom and gloom, even though lately it's been rough. So we'll take a step back and look at the big picture and where things stand in just a minute. And before we do, all right, here we go. We are going to look at the big picture, talk about this mental reset with the day off tomorrow. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. So the Giants are off tomorrow. You always would like to win this game and be able to sit on a good feeling going into an off day. They've got I don't know exactly how long it takes to get from Detroit to Miami, but I would imagine a pretty long flight, relatively speaking, on this 3-city road trip. But at least they have a day off to kind of rest and recover, although it is hot in Miami. So I don't know, just spend the day in the hotel room and just relax. Today, a low of 80 in Miami when they get in. It's overnight low of 80. Tomorrow, low of 79 when they'll be there and off. And of course, the stadium has a roof and they'll have air conditioning and all that. So they won't have to deal with the elements too much. But I don't know, in some way, maybe this is just me looking at this from my generally optimistic point of view about things. But sometimes when you have a game like this where you fight and you scratch and you claw and you still come out on the losing end, it can kind of just motivate you it can make you mad and just make you kind of stop moping and more just get angry and get like aggressive and just take it out on somebody. And I think you're set up to potentially go into Miami and just take this frustration out on the Marlins. And so they're due. They're very due. And I look at the score, the ongoing games at the time of this recording. The Diamondbacks are losing 10-0 at home to the Pirates at the time of this recording. The Padres or the Marlins are actually in San Diego, so that's good. They've also got a long flight home, the Marlins, but it's 6-6, and so potentially the Padres could lose to the Marlins today as well, or just lose as well, I guess I should say. And the Dodgers already lost to the Guardians. The Mets lost. Like, anytime a National League team is playing an American League team and loses, it helps you as the Giants. And the Phillies and Braves were postponed. Brewers won their game. So I don't know. So far, mostly good results outside of that Brewers game. It is, of course, early to be scoreboard watching. But nonetheless, I just want to point out, the Giants are, even with these 3 straight losses, they are 31-25. I think I say this a lot, but if you had just polled fans, how would you feel to know the team, regardless of recent performance, is 31-25 after 56 games? I think that most people, at the very least, would say they feel good. No one's going to say they feel over the moon ecstatic, but you feel good about that record overall. The recent trend, not so much, but overall, it's not bad. I mean, they're 3 games out in the National League West behind the Dodgers. So that is by no means some insurmountable hole. The D-backs are 6.5 out, and they're losing 10-0, like I said. So they're going to be 7 out. Rockies are 24.5 games out. But in the wild card, with this loss, the Giants fell out of a playoff position, yet they're just half a game out. And the next closest team is 2.5 games behind them, and that's the Brewers. So it's a good thing that the Braves are having a rough season, 3 games under 500 right now. It's a good thing that the Diamondbacks have struggled to the tune of a 27-28 record. And again, they're losing 10-0 right now, so they'll probably be 27-29. Mostly those are the 2 teams, because otherwise, the Reds are at 500, the Brewers are about 500. That's more or less what you would expect. But if the Braves and Diamondbacks were playing well, then you could be in a much more difficult position. The one team that has been a surprise and currently is a half game ahead of the Giants is the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's one negative, I guess you could say, in the National League landscape. But really, it's good that for the Giants that the D-backs and Braves have underperformed so far this season. The Giants essentially have a head start on those teams. Let's assume the Diamondbacks do not come back from their 10-0 deficit. Giants will have a 4-game lead over them, and they will have a 4.5 game lead over the Atlanta Braves. And so all of that at the little past the 1/3 mark of the season is just, I don't know. To me, they're in a fine position. It just takes a little bit of a mental reset, and if you can go into Miami and take care of a team that is 21-32 at the time of this recording. They're in a 6-6 game, so they'll either be 22-32, 10 games under 500, or they'll be 21-33. They have an expected record of 19-34. They've been outscored by 78 runs. The Giants have outscored their opponents by 39 runs, so the Giants should be favored in these games against the Marlins. They've had a hard time, if memory serves, playing in Miami. Marlins have played much better at home. They're 13-15 there and 8-17 on the road. But they're also just 11-21 against teams that are at or above 500, which the Giants are. And so, I don't know, if you can win 2 out of 3, which you should, at least 2 out of 3, then they would end up having a 4-5 road trip, and if they could sweep, they could even go 5-4. And so just try to win a series in Miami, and then it's not all doom and gloom, even though you're having all this trouble scoring runs. Like, you won a series in DC. You were very close to just winning a game in Detroit. And I think that realistically, if you're thinking just super rationally about it, the Tigers, who have the best record in baseball and they are at home where they've played very, very well, you would expect to lose that series. And Giants were very close to winning a game, which would be kind of as expected. Big picture though, like I've discussed this in recent episodes, mailbag episodes. Like, I think that they need some offensive help. They've gotten nothing out of first base for the most part. It's been very weak. Patrick Bailey has not hit at all. He's been the worst hitter in baseball for almost a calendar year, and maybe even a calendar year. I only checked since August, but he was by far the worst since last August. And Willy Adames has been very disappointing. So there's a lot of things that you could say have not gone particularly well, and yet they're in this position where they're half a game out of a playoff spot and 6 games over 500 with a difficult series out of the way. And now you go and face the team that has the 3rd worst record in the National League, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th worst record in baseball. So I don't know. We'll see. They have the day off tomorrow to stew on this one and then hopefully go take it out on the Marlins. We shall see. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.